Hello, this story is called Meet Adam the Ghost. Well, I didn't ever expect to meet a ghost, certainly not have one in my aura for 30 years. However, that's what happened. 20 years ago, I had a kinesiology session with a guy called Phil to see what was blocking me from some sort of dysfunction that I've got heaps of, and you probably have too. And in the muscle testing, which is pretty cool stuff, he found that I had a ghost in my aura. He, by more muscle testing, was able to tell me some of the characteristics, and I was able to identify this old guy called Adam, who had died when I was 14 or 15. When I first met Adam, I was 10 or 11. We were in Melbourne for holiday, and we drove up to Bendigo to see old Adam, as my father called him. He was a friend of the family. So the poor man was in a wheelchair, and I could see that he'd been a robust and vital man in his earlier days, and I had quite a lot of pathos towards him because he couldn't do anything, and he had to have a lady come in and look after his daily duties. I've come to understand that when we have an emotion that we feel towards someone, whether it be a good one, indifferent, or a bad one, we make a link of energy between us and the recipient of our emotion. So that's a good reason not to gossip. It's a very good reason not to. So poor Adam and I had formed a link, which I didn't know about. Then when I was 14, we came to Melbourne to live from Adelaide, and Father kept saying, we must go up to see old Adam, we must go up to see old Adam. But we didn't ever go up to see old Adam, and sometime later he died. In fact, he suicided, and no one knows how he got out of his chair up to the rafters. He must have been so desperate, that's what he did. Then, as it turns out, he looked around and found a welcoming aura in me, and then just slipped in and stayed there for 30 years. Before you do all the maths and worry about that, I'm 65 now, so I should have mentioned that before to save you puzzling, in case you were. When Phil, the kinesiologist, got rid of Adam, sent him on his way, I went home and I felt lighter and freer. However, sometime later Adam came back. You know, it's 30 years ago, and I now cannot remember exactly the symptoms because Adam then turned up in various different ways. So he was obviously very scared to go, but I didn't even realise that at the time. He came, I got a friend to help me, and she was very pointing the finger and saying, you've done the wrong thing, and you're in her aura, and you're holding her back, and you need to go and get into your own space and go and face your just desserts, etc. So he nicked off out of my aura, but he turned up in my son's aura. We didn't know that at the time, of course, but we then found Pete was had something unseen around his neck. He was only 6 at the time. The kids are very open when they're little. He was going, and when it seemed to be setting in for a few days, my husband and I asked him what it was that he was doing, and he said, I feel as though I've got something tied around my neck that has to get off. I have to get it off. Well, you've probably realised that what we realised, and that was that Adam had got into Pete's aura as well. What to do? I got the same friend, and she went through the same process, but from a distance, so that we didn't freak out a little 6-year-old boy, and asked Adam to leave. He left because the stopped. He got back into my aura. He ping-ponged between us a couple of times, and I thought, I can't, this is not working. And I realised why he had been reticent to go. So I asked my teacher, my inner guru, if you like, to help me. And I in a meditative space, thought of my teacher and thought of Adam and said to Adam, you know, in some teaching, it's not a mortal sin for you to suicide, it's just your karma. And we all create karma day in, day out. So there's a lovely place for you to go to, a place of love and light, and you will be very happy there. And here's my teacher, I want you to go, take his hand, and I want you to go to that same place of love and light. Well, that worked. I guess love does work better than... We didn't ever hear from Adam again. However, there's one little footnote makes me think. When I was pregnant with my first baby, who was a stillborn baby ultimately, I knew he was a boy, and my husband and I named him Adam. I wonder how much influence old Adam's ghost had in the choosing of that name. Bye-bye.